the
This
last thing that these
conference will
students
now be recorded.
want to do is go home and log into Microsoft Teams or Slack. They don't want to go on a professional platform while they're at home. So having something that's transparently able to be accepted by them is better. Next slide. So what do we need to do? We need to access these students on a different platform, something that they already consume. The proper solution to student interaction is to give them somewhere they already go to collaborate. What SMPTE needs to do is pivot and disrupt the way we interact with student chapters. And it needs to be a complete 180 from what we're doing now to a more global focus towards collaboration interaction. So instead of focusing on things like Slack and Teams and LinkedIn, why don't we cater to something that the students are already using? Next slide. Oop, too many. So enter Discord in this. So Discord, their slogan is your place to talk. Whether you're part of a school, club, gaming group, worldwide art community, or just a handful of friends that want to spend time together, Discord makes it easy. So the next slide. So not only is Discord good because a lot of people are already using it, but it's also free. The difference with Discord is that students are there. They're talking at home in their home life. They're using it to connect with friends. It is the most worldwide accepted communication mode for gamers around the world. And most college students, by fact, are gamers. It's also widely used by other student chapter groups. So US ITT uses Discord as its primary communication method for student chapters. There's currently 6.7 million Discord servers and 300 million users. And in fact, the broadcast industry is already there with many industry professionals. So I just took an instantaneous screenshot of a Discord that I'm part of. And as you can see, there's already a number of people from many broadcast professional organizations part of that Discord. Next slide, Roberta. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention on that side is that Discord is also not only a web application, a PC application, but also a mobile application. So you can install it on anything, anywhere, anytime. So what can it do? It started out as a tool for gamers to communicate while they were playing games, but they've slowly pivoted and now are accelerating into more of a communications infrastructure for anyone. So they have voice channels where you can have virtual rooms and users can either voice chat or video chat. You can share screens, and it's optimized for streaming. So those channels are a solid option for PowerPoint lectures, section meetings, troubleshooting sessions for school projects. And there's also text channels. Text channels are more chat room based, where you can chat, upload documents, pin messages, and it's a great way you can to divide and share content with each other. You can also have different categories and different topics, so conversations can be split up based on audience. You can also assign roles to these conversations, so certain people can see conversations and they can't see others. So on the next slide, what I've done is I've set up a test server in Discord. So I've created two schools along the right-hand side there. The individual schools are only viewable by students who go to those schools. So you can only be a student of that school to view the messages that happen inside of that specific area. Versus the global section, all students can see that. And this is completely customizable so that we can change how different roles inside the system interact with different sections of the chat. So I've created a fellow category, a SMPTE category, school categories, and admin categories, and we can assign those permissions to people on an ad hoc basis as we want. When somebody enters the Discord, they won't be able to see anything until we verify their identity and make sure that they're part of one of the organizations allowed to view this section. And that's what I have so far. Any questions, comments? One thing that I would ask of anyone who is a mentor for a student chapter, ask your students if they're using Discord right now and if they would participate in something like this, because I'd like to set up a pilot program where we invite a few or more than a few student chapters into this to see how they collaborate with each other.
Very quiet bunch of folks. No questions for that?
I don't have any questions. This is Mona Smothers from the Sacramento SMPTE section, and I just want to say kudos. This is perfect. As the mother of a almost 21-year-old, I can tell you he's on Discord every single night. I don't fully understand how it all operates, but I know that he has created a huge community in his streaming activities, and this is the perfect solution for reaching out to students. So I'm super impressed that you've done this and think it's the absolute right direction to head.
You, Lee?
This is John Scheich. I just think that right now that there's some challenges, obstacles in having student chapter meetings. So any ways that we can create other forums, I think is a great thing to have.
Awesome.
I think this is great. I use Discord a lot. It seems everything you said is very true, and it does seem like a very good solution for students and others.
And I want to thank you, Lee, and I want to acknowledge that John Gallagher has something in the chat that shows what the New York section did. Do you want to take a moment, John, and tell us about that?
Well, yeah, we did a meeting for early career people where we got some pretty good participation by IATSE, Local 600, Motion Picture Editors Guild, and some early career people. And we had about 150 people log into it. I think this is something we could do on a bigger level with different chapters. But just take a look at it. I think it's worth emulating.
Okay. All right.
And we had participation from 3 colleges. So
It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, but just back to Discord, I have a 19-year-old who I think he's doing it right now. Don't have to worry about him doing anything with any antisocial kind of stuff my generation did, because they're on Discord. They're not in bars.
So this is,
Holly, I see you keep unmuting yourself. You wanted to be in the queue.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're using Discord to teach at the moment for some of our classes, and it's working really well. And I imagine because a lot of the students are using it anyway, they actually prefer when we're teaching on Discord from when we're teaching on Teams and Zoom and other things. And we get a lot of communication outside of the classroom through the chat functions on there. So yeah, if I can be part of any pilot, that would be great.
Awesome.
this is Frank in the Florida section. I'm just curious as to what the user base looks like in terms of size compared to something like WhatsApp, and how this differs between WhatsApp and or other similar kind of apps.
Yeah, so things like WhatsApp, where it's primarily chatting and having like group chats, and that's more of like a consumption model based on, you know, upwards of maybe 20 people in a group chat. You wouldn't want to invite 1,000 users to a WhatsApp group, right? Discord allows you to segregate out and have in one central location text chats, and they're more like, think of it like a Reddit, but more of a live version of Reddit, where you can have conversations and then also split up into individual voice chats and streaming chats and things like that, or even play video games with each other within that organization. And the Discord is, I mean, they just did a fundraiser, and I think it was like something like $20 million they raised so that they could even more further up the bar of what they can do technology wise. So yeah, I think WhatsApp's great in small communities, but I think the scale is the problem there.
Is it fair to say that Discord has managed to form its own technology-directed communities that already exist?
I would say that's relatively fair, yeah.
Yeah. So adding another technology community might actually not be a big leap.
Yeah, I mean, there's already tons of technology communities that use Discord. I mean, the video industry, so the one that I'm part of, in that one video engineering Discord, we have 2,000 users that participate on it in a daily active basis. I know that IEEE has some, I don't know if they're more professional based or more just curiosity based Discord servers. And I'm seeing it pop up on many more film oriented Discord technology groups that aren't necessarily focused on the engineering side, but the creative side as well. It's really something that can cater to anyone is like the whole point of Discord. Like their whole model is adopting any kind of chat communication and pulling it into their platform.
You know, and their existing user base is very much who we are targeting, the age group and the proclivity towards technology.
And I think that the one point that I really want to stress is, although for us or some people in SMPTE, it may be something else that we have to consume because you guys may not be using Discord, or not all of you may not be. But what we're trying to do is make the students feel more important. So going somewhere where they already are is super important in that step, because we don't want them to download another app on their phone that they're going to ignore. We want them to have something on their phone they're already using and consume it that way.
And for those of you who do have, teens to college age students, you can actually see when your kids are online and what they're doing. So there's benefits for those of you who may not be using it right now. It's a great way of getting a hold of your kids.
Yeah, the other thing we want to make sure that everyone knows too is, like I said at the beginning, this is additive communication. We're not going to stop any of the other ways that we're communicating, but we want to add this as part of our. All right. There's good info and some good chats going on in the chat. So definitely keep that going. So we will shift gears, and Ian, we're going to head over to you.
Sure. One thing that we discussed in our meeting was SMPTE advising. And this is basically something I didn't join SMPTE till mid-career. And, as you're entering, especially for the students and the early career folks, getting guidance, I think, could be a great benefit. I do have a slide. I think if we advance to it, you can pop that up real quick. So our thoughts were, developing two programs. One, to basically work with students and those who are early into the industry. And part of this is, providing guidance on, how do you get into the industry and what, field or discipline are you most interested in pathways, providing guidance on opportunities, not quite a job board, but if you're mentoring a student and you see they have certain skills, you can direct them towards someone you might know who's hiring or who needs those skill sets. Working up some kind of internship programs with partner organizations for them to get experience. On the professional side, I mean, I've certainly benefited since my joining. I attended my first Bits by the Bay in DC back in the mid 2000s. Met Peter Wharton there and several of the folks in the DC chapter, and then went on to work in the New York chapter for a while too. And the guidance that I've gotten, both the friendships, the networking, and I'll add again the networking, project guidance. It's stuff that for those mid-career SMPTE members, being able to reach out to folks who have connections, who have knowledge, that can answer questions that you could spend days researching and trying to figure out yourself, is a tremendous benefit to the membership. So I think we can really target a program for both the entry level and early stage SMPTE members, as well as those who are mid-career, and keep passing that information down from the fellows who have been there and done that and have a wealth of knowledge, information, and contacts, to the student who wants to know, should I go into this discipline or that discipline to get to where I want to be, and talk to someone who's mid-level, who's already entered that and has recently. Obviously you may not go to a SMPTE fellow and say, hey, how did you get into the business? Probably a whole lot different path than someone who entered the business, 10, 15 years ago. So my thought is, if we can develop a program around each of those, it would be beneficial to the SMPTE membership in its entirety, both on the recruitment end, helping foster those younger professionals so they don't run off to want to go work for Google and Facebook, keep them within the industry, both on the technical and creative side, and to give an outlet for those fellows who have spent a lifetime, developing skills and knowledge and helping pass that on. I was most recently at a university working with a program there where the majority of the engineering team at their TV station, was 55 plus. And, there was no path to bring in future engineers. We began working with students, giving them guidance, finding those that had the technical aptitude and the interest, drawing them in. And then the guys and the gals loved it. The young ones came in going, wow, all this information with people who are interested in teaching me one-on-one. The guys who've been doing this for decades were like, wow, we get to pass on some of that knowledge. to a willing audience and not just, going back and forth and complaining to one another. So my hope is, this is something that you guys might be interested in pursuing, and that we could find some folks at all those levels who might want to participate. And, it could be within a Discord server as far as providing this. We did try this in Slack, where it was Ask a Fellow. But again, it was trying to get people into that app to, utilize that. It didn't move as far as we'd like. So, thoughts on whether this makes sense for folks and if they're interested in helping out, and how we might deploy it.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. And before we get to the Q&A, I really want to stress that this is not a rebranding of Ask a Fellow. This is actually us beginning to utilize all of this knowledge that we have across the board within SMPTE and opening it up to the next generation of leaders and the next generation of engineers, and focusing really on creating a pipeline so that we can keep our industry strong, and we can also keep our industry appealing to those who have so many other options to go and to take their skills. And we really believe that this is one of those ways that we can start to reach a group that has lots of questions, talent, and we want them to join us and utilize that talent here. And it's also, to be honest, as a person who kind of worked before, it also gives you a really good feeling when you are able to actually give back, and then you have someone call you years later to tell you that they've made a progression in their career, or just call you to say thank you. It's a really, really wonderful feeling, and I'm sure that pretty much everybody on this call has had that feeling with someone that they've mentored throughout the careers, because that's one of the great things about SMPTE, is that I don't think I've ever a SMPTE member who's not willing to share and share. So with that, questions and as well as suggestions for what you think this could be.
Hey, Dave Sigler.
Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, I think this is a fabulous idea. And I think probably most everybody on this call volunteers and is active in SMPTE to give back to the industry that when we were coming up in our careers, that being members of SMPTE and maybe other organizations really helped our career and found ways to launch into our careers and advance. So I think this is really great, and it's on the right track. I'm just curious as what sort of platform that you're going to do on this, how we'll promote it.
Well, obviously the Discord someone put in the chat makes a lot of sense, especially for some of the early adopters, the students and some of the early professionals. What's the best functionality for interfacing with the fellow? That's a good question, because we did try it on Slack, and like I said, yes, on Slack, and just didn't get a lot of traction, because it's to add the SMPTE channel into your Slack channel while you're doing all your work stuff, and it wasn't as engaging where maybe the Discord thing might be, or whether it's an email reflector to send a question out to a group and then to try to get feedback back, or sometimes maybe it may even be a monthly session where a number of experts in certain areas get onto a Zoom or a Discord server, and people are invited to ask some of their questions and debate solutions and creative options.
Sure. I wonder if maybe it's maybe we put the question to some of the student chapters. It's like, hey, here's what we're looking at doing, and what might work for you as far as a communication method.
I hate to throw in some educational theory here, but I think we're missing. Bear with me here, because it might get a little esoteric. Our problem really is that we're missing like a middle layer of communication, which in educational theory is called legitimate peripheral participation, where like you're involved in something, but you don't have to necessarily have a lot of knowledge or a lot of expertise, and where there's some people who are like closer to your level of experience who could communicate with you. So I think I think the Discord thing could work, as we could get early career people involved.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the whole idea of getting over experienced people involved is that you're missing that middle layer of communication. So I think for the Discord thing to work, we need to try to identify some people who are closer to the start of their career or beginning of the middle part of their career can actually participate.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think Chris Lapp is a good example of one of those types of individuals who can be that sort of middle that you're talking about, John. I think Brian, you had something to say?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I thought you did.
I do. Linda Rossner, if that's okay.
Yeah, Linda, come on in.
Okay. By the way, kudos. Fantastic. I think, again, you've hit the nail on the head as far as having someone that the students can relate to that are in the trenches but are not 15, 20-year veterans. They obviously want someone to relate to. We have done a few Meet a Hollywood Expert that Kylie Pena's produced that gets professionals that are, within the first 5, no more than 10 years within their careers, so that the students have someone they can relate to. I just want to say, I concur. That's all. Thanks.
Well, I can say I certainly stole part of that idea from the Hollywood chapter in Linda's group, because I'm a member of that, because they have been successful. They're
And
bringing
we love
people
having
in.
you, Ian, and I want you to talk about this possibly. Well, let's talk offline.
And we've actually been doing this with the De Anza chapter, as we try once a semester to have a program with the student chapter at De Anza that are early careerists. And exactly as you were saying, John, the students can relate to them best. And what we found is that sometimes after the panel and the meeting is finished, they huddle around a couple of the presenters, and they just want to chat, and then it's impossible to even throw them out of the auditorium. They really, really get interested. So I think you're absolutely right, John.
It's a good way to try and create that same phenomenon, John. To get them to gather around someone, and listen and learn, and for me, learn from them.
Well, I think it's a good feeder into getting folks, once we are able to come back and have meetings again, into those, because once you begin to create some relationships online with some of the folks, then you're more inclined to probably go to these meetings and meet these people in person for that, that added connection.
Yeah.
Hey, Bernard.
Yeah.
It's Tony here.
Hey, Tony.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. So just to let everybody know, February's meeting in Toronto was all student focused, and Bernard was gracious enough to join us on that. Got some interesting analytics out of it. We had 257 register. That's both SMPTE members, non-members, students, and non-members. Out of that, 108 were students. 67 attended, 41 did not. The interesting thing that came out of it as well is just looking at my notes here. Some of them were interested in the topics. We had about 7 presenters, and we kept it short, kept it sweet, just to maintain that focus. Everybody, the big comments we got out of it, everybody was engaged. They thought it was great. If I go back to the year, this was our second yearly event for students. The first one was, again, during the face-to-face time. Again, we had lots of students show up. We encouraged students to, because we fed them as well, we encouraged them to come early, grab a slice of pizza, and network. One of the things that we didn't realize is that all the student groups got together, grabbed their pizza, and went inside the lecture hall and all sat together and ate their pizza, which wasn't really the focus of the networking side. But the takeaway was that, as somebody else mentioned earlier, we had to shut the room down because the cleaners came in, because there was a constant selection of questions being asked. They were really engaged, and there is something that either we're not hitting, or once they get engaged, they get engaged. But I think the whole problem is finding that mechanism to get them engaged. I think once we get them, I think we'll be good, but I don't know that we've hit the sweet spot yet in their ability to potentially see that there is some value add of all the students that were there. I personally got because I was moderating or setting up the meeting, I personally got a LinkedIn request from one. We got 3 student members that joined, and we got one become a friend registered as well. So I like where this is going, but I think we do have a challenge to hit a mark that really gets them engaged.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think you know, as it was mentioned earlier in the call, that we need to sort of have some folks who are a little bit earlier in their career who can help that. You know, I think that's a really important point, because, you know, the easiest thing is when someone can speak your language. And, you know, a lot of us who have been in our careers for, you know, 30 some years, we speak the language, we speak our language, we can speak to each other because we've sort of grown up together. We need to sort of create a cohort for those who are coming in the business who are growing up together now. I think that would be helpful in this effort. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, the more I think about what we're presenting here today, the more excited I'm getting. We, as the Hollywood group, made this, you know, decision to sort of break apart and do more focused, targeted programs towards new and up and coming, you know, potential SMPTE members, as well as innovators and people in a separate market. But what we also started doing is simultaneously live streaming to Facebook and YouTube. And we saw that our attendance wasn't just in the Zoom meeting, but we had remote attendance. The problem there is the content then sits up on YouTube, and there's no way to sort of collect those people or see who really followed through or watched your videos. But if I could have a Discord server already ready, right, so that instead of just leaving the content now up on YouTube, I could put it on the Discord server that is, here's the meeting on ATSC 3.0 we just did, and let a community build up in that Discord server that we could then be tracking. And now you see if there's interest, if it bubbles up, what actually evolves out of that becomes useful and productive. And the same on the, you know, Ask a Hollywood Expert series, is we had younger people like Brooke Noska, you know, come out, and she's excited about SMPTE, but she's a filmmaker, and she talks about all the great shows she's working on. People get so excited, like, oh, I want to work on a Seth MacFarlane movie too. But then what happens to those people? If we left it in a, you know, a server now that we could then look at and see which students are actually attracting back there, then you could ping them, then you can reach out to them, you can bubble them up. So I'm really excited about this. It sounds to me like it's all coming together and how we're using these technologies now. But if anybody has any interest in what we've been doing in Hollywood in terms of connecting that up, you know, feel free to reach out to us offline, because all these technologies, I think, just build a better experience and a post experience after the session's over that we can go back to, and hopefully, you know, find some people that we bring into the long-lasting SMPTE community.
I think that's really cool, and I love the fact that you're giving us a use case that's showing success down this direction. That's really good. We've had Luann question in the chat, and actually, Luann, the question that you're asking in the chat about engaging with professors and engaging with schools and so forth, that's actually something that we're going to talk about in April as part of a full series that we want to actually focus on what's the educational aspects that the membership group can play a part in. And so we're going to have Michael Zink and Joel join us for that meeting in April. So we're gonna table that one, Luann, until next month, because I think it's a great question for them for next month. And it looks like we've got Peter Wharton in the queue. And then after Peter, we've got Wes Simpson. Peter?
So I think it's great, when we have these we have these meetings where we bring students together. But it's often said that the millennials are not joiners. They're not membership type people. What they are is platform-based people. They use platforms to create their own communities and their connections. How many of these millennials you see who are watching TV and they're constantly tweeting on their phone or doing something else, right? So Chris, you're exactly on the right track by setting up this Discord. Where not only can we have our meetings where we introduce them and bring them together, but then they can continue to stay connected through this platform. So there really is a good chance here, I think, of creating a vibrant next-gen community. The question I really have is, the problem with any platform or anything like that is until you reach a critical mass, like we've tried before with using Slack and using Teams, it doesn't work, because if there's nobody there, nobody wants to be there. But I'm also concerned whether or not having us there is an impediment to the students and next gen, because they'll see a bunch of old people hanging out on their platform and feel it's not for them either. So I'm kind of curious how we actually make this platform something that they feel is where they want to go. And maybe we should be there asking, they can see professionals answer questions and say, hey, I know Renard Jenkins, or I know Brian Gaffney, this is a cool thing that they can say to their friends. Or maybe it's like you're hanging out with the wrong crowd. So I'm curious about that. How do we keep it cool for them?
Yeah, and I fully expect that there will be a section of the Discord that will be locked off to students only, that maybe SMPTE professionals can't see. And we have that ability within the Discord to lock off sections of it, right? So there'll be a section for professional development where students can talk to people who are 10, 20, 30 years in the industry, but those people can't talk to them in their student-focused channels. So we'll be able to section it out that way. And we'll make sure that that's clear when they join, and saying, hey, anything you say in here, none of these people can see, except for maybe 3 admins. So and we'll have to play with that. And I have actually, so far in the pilot that I've built, I've put like a suggestions box where basically people can go in and say, hey, it would be really cool if you structured it like this or like that. Because quite honestly, I've only built 3 Discord servers. I'm not the best at it. So I would be relying on student feedback to help me structure it the way that they want.
So can I ask a quick follow-up? So can in Discord, can you have like live engagements, like have a guest come in and be part of that Discord where they can all interact and ask questions or something, so it becomes more event-based versus just an ongoing chat forum?
Both. You can have an ongoing chat forum.
Yeah.
You can have event-based voice chats, text chats. You can have temporary channels.
So rather than having a bunch of senior SMPTE members moderating this and looking over their shoulder, instead what we could do is invite some luminary from the industry to come for an hour chat session on the Discord, which make all the students want to be there, and make those who weren't there have the fear of missing out. Like you get to hang with James Cameron for an hour on our SMPTE Discord student chat session. That would be a really powerful way to leverage some of the better brand names within our industry that we have connections to make the students come to that. Cool. All right. Back to you, Bernard.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Chris. And if anybody is excited about meeting me, I feel sorry for them.
It's just because they don't know you, Bernard.
So we're going to go to Wes, who I'm always excited to meet.
No good reason for that. My apologies for not having my camera on. My camera is obviously too good for GoToMeeting. So one of the thoughts that occurred to me.
I saw you on magazine with a sharp setup.
Yeah, I got a 4K camera, and GoToMeeting just doesn't know how to deal with it. Anyhow, one of the places where we have mid-career people already engaging with SMPTE on a regular basis is in SMPTE education. And we bring them in, we provide classes. I mean, I talk to groups of people every week for 6 weeks in a row on one of the instructor-led courses and things like that. I think that might be a good source for people to get, continue their engagement with SMPTE. There's always good questions going, and these people are really, demonstrating interest in learning more about our industry and learning more about our technology because they paid a few $100s to go to a course, or their employers did. It might be worth trying to leverage some of those people. And, one way of doing that might be to, offer them a, 1-year trial membership in SMPTE as part of a package. We were also discussing in the New York section, doing that for people who come in as speakers. We get a fair number of speakers who aren't SMPTE members, and maybe by, giving them a taste for a year or something like that, a complimentary membership, we can help, have them better appreciate, all the good things that we're doing here. Just a thought, especially those mid-career people that are, or maybe even early career people going through education, might be really good to get involved with the Discord channel as well. Thanks.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I don't want to cut the short, but I do want to make sure we get through our agenda. Let's see. Ian talks about check out the chat for Ian's comment, and we're gonna move this one forward with your help. So please stay in contact with us throughout the month with more suggestions. We kind of put this together, and we'll continue to give you updates on where we are on both Discord and the advisory group. Next up is John Scheich, and he's going to talk to us about where we are with regards to the idea of certifications that was brought up to us in the last meeting. So John, over to you.
So we just said, I hope everyone can hear me okay? So
Yes.
we just had some discussion, and if you move forward on the next slide, Roberta. Basically, when we talk about a certification program, one of the concerns we ran into immediately was accredited programs can be a bit difficult and expensive to produce. And we looked at the example of Avixa, for example, in terms of CTS credits, but a certification to be able to create a certificate, a piece of paper, is actually a very simple, straightforward thing to do. So we think it's something to help people get recognition within SMPTE and what they're doing. It's a way that we could expand on the educational courses that we're already doing. So it's a way that we can provide some, proof of what time and effort that members are putting into learning new technologies, to learning SMPTE standards. And it's a benefit to both professional members in that sense, but also to students to show as they graduate from school and going into the industry that they do have knowledge of the kind of technology that the companies are looking for. So next slide. So, in terms of the value, for our educational programs that we're already doing, it provides a plus, it provides additional demonstration of the time and effort that our members are doing in terms of their learning. It means that they have recognition for what they learn and what they know, and also for their knowledge of the SMPTE standards like 2110 that we've been developing. And then for students and young careerists, it's a way that they can get extra credit above and beyond what they're doing in school, and to show that they understand the industry from a position of industry knowledge, industry professionals like ourselves, that what we've been providing in terms of information and education. Next slide. Again, for SMPTE, it's a way to expand our presence, our branding, if you will, because now the education has a piece of paper that goes along with it. It's a way to grow our membership, and it's a way that, in terms of our members, to provide some additional value to them. It's valuable, I think, for both the sense of professional members to show their knowledge of new technologies, and to young careerists to show that they understand the kind of technologies that the world today consists of. And actually, I looked at one of the curriculums that's provided at ASU in this case, and I was very impressed that it's very comprehensive in terms of more traditional and also the latest technologies that a broadcast engineer is involved in. So it's terrific. Next slide. So really the next step is, I think that, certification is not really a simple thing, but I think it's an important thing. And I think what we need is a work group to get a few of us involved to have a further discussion about what would actually create this value, what would the form of a certificate be, how much money, time, effort, investment do we want to make in this, but also what would the specific programs be. So I really invite, if I can get just a few people either on the call or people that you recommend that I reach out to, we'd like to put together a work group and really explore this further. That's it. And it looks like I got the first guy here. So thanks, John.
Great.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. We love that. Keep that chat going. There's good stuff in there. So thanks, John. And we really want to do this in a way that once again we're providing a service. That's a really big part of what it is that we're doing. We believe by providing this service, we're giving more value to the society, and that individuals will see us in sort of in a useful way. And that's what we really want to do. We want to show not just students, but we want to show the industry that SMPTE is still useful, SMPTE is still here, SMPTE is still making incredible contributions to this industry. And I think that is one of those things that sometimes is forgotten because we are in the background doing so much that if you don't really know what we do, you would recognize at the moment that something was not interoperable. And I think it's good for us to find ways to get people more involved. Another thing that we talked about was, what if we were able to sort of pull together sort of a series of certifications that someone would need, say, coming out of college right now? What would you need? Would you need to be certified in, well, right now, language is Python. Would you be certified in Python? Would you need to understand what protocol really means? You need to understand how to actually, utilize PTP to move things forward by decreasing packet loss. All of these types of things that are areas where certifications are available, we could help to sort of form those experiences for people. And I think that's a really good place for us to play right now. And it does give us more opportunities to get more members, but it also gives us an opportunity to really serve. And that was brought up very early in this meeting, is that's why we're here. All right. Wow. I just saw that pop up, John. You said the textbooks are 10 years out of date. Wow. Yeah. That you're exactly right. And that's an area where I think we could help. All right, with that, we are going to move forward with Peter Warden, who is going to talk with us about SMPTE clubs and the virtual sections and so forth. So I will turn it over to Peter, and then I will follow up with our last few updates. Peter, go ahead.
Thanks, Bernard. So one of the things I'd wanted to do for quite some time was launch the concept of virtual sections, which would be sections that, instead of being organized by geography like they are today, would be members who come together sharing a common interest that could be members from all over the globe coming together. And these could be anything from, for example, a virtual section devoted to diversity and inclusion, to, in this case, a virtual section that is for people who are interested in media in the cloud. And it's a way of helping grow SMPTE from the ground up, a grassroots effort. So we actually have our first actual official meeting this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern of the Cloud Media Club. And I've invited a couple of key people to help get this started. John Footen from Deloitte, Thomas Edwards and Claire Southey and Evan Staton, and another person from AWS as well, so, and a few others, and some, so we invited some key people to Suba, also from AWS. The funny thing is most of these people I invited to do this were not working for AWS when I started this, and now they all are, but that's just the nature of the industry. But it's a way to build communities first and build relationships and friendships around a common interest that will then grow into something larger. And honestly, we don't know what that larger looks like yet because this is happening organically. And so we want to see what happens when you put the right people on a bus without telling them where to sit or where the bus is going to go. And that's kind of how we're doing this first virtual section, which we're calling the Cloud Media Club. So I hope you'll join us at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Our first presentation will be from a gentleman from Deloitte, Ed Koviduk, who's going to do a Cloud Media 101. Future meetings will be less about presentations and more about having a particular topic and just having conversations. And I'm happy to say that we already have over 150 people registered for our first event. So it's going well.
That's awesome. 150 people, right? That's pretty cool.
And there are some pretty interesting group of names out there, pretty recognizable group of names. So it's we may have to go, our Cloud Media 101 may be more of a 301 before we're done.
Well, great. And Wes just asked if you could put the information to join the meeting in the chat.
Yep, it's on the website, and I'll put it in the chat too. Yes.
That'll be great.
SMPTE has also set up a club media section page where you will find this as well. And it actually shows up on the homepage of SMPTE today under the Cloud Media Club.
All right.
And you must register to attend, yes.
Cool. Any questions for Peter?
It's in the chat.
All right, everyone. Next slide, please. So as you know that we are really focused on DEI this year, and we've been partnering with HPA. Next week begins the Hpa Tech Retreat. If you have not signed up, you should sign up. It's $299 for non-members and $199 for members. And it is going to be about 2 weeks of incredible content. So, take a moment, and SMPTE will be represented there throughout, just as they are every year. But what we are working on is the initiatives that we're pushing forward. And so we are going to have roundtables that are going to speak about DEI initiatives and working within that space. We're also going to have a pre-recorded presentation that both Carrie, Ruben, and I put together. And so that's going to be playing as well. And we want to get your feedback. We have a lot of ideas that are going on, and that's really cool. And that's going to be happening next week. April 2nd, we are bringing the SMPTE working group on DEI back from hiatus. We kind of took a break here to kind of reestablish ourselves and also to kind of focus on all the stuff that we had to get done. So we're coming back in a different form. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for those of you who want to get involved with us and with this, this movement to help us to move things forward. So, like I said, we're going to have we're having a steering committee meeting on April 2nd, and we're going to kind of gather some things together. And then you're going to be seeing notifications from me and from the rest of the group as we start to pull volunteers into some of the initiatives. Some of the things that we're looking at is outreach to colleges and art institutes and so forth and so on. But other things that we're looking at is content creation that's based on education and educating people about what it means to have an equitable environment, how to lead diverse teams. What is it that we need to do within our industry to keep diversity flowing and increase inclusion. All of these things are a part of what it is we want to do. So we'll be moving towards that. And so you'll see more from us in the month of April as we totally reignite this whole group. Next slide, please, Roberta. Now, this is one that we found to be very interesting, and Roberta brought this up last meeting and reminded us that there had been sort of a place where we would have individuals who were sort of tried and true speakers, or someone who was working on a particular paper or a particular aspect of our industry. And we had a list of them, and you could come and, you know, and kind of reach out to those individuals and work with them. We want to bring this back because we're in this virtual state right now. And what's happening is it's giving chapters and sections the opportunity to share the talent within your particular region. And what we're really hoping to do is to create a way that we can actually have, you know, speakers, say in the New York chapter, speaking with someone who's, you know, in the Hollywood chapter, or speaking to the Hollywood chapter as a whole. We want to create a real community, and we believe that by you know, sort of presenting a place where individuals can go and see, okay, this particular speaker is an expert in this particular area. It doesn't matter what section they are a member of. We want to make sure that we're giving everyone the opportunity to learn from one another. And we once again believe that this is another way for us to sort of create camaraderie within our membership. Because it's not just about getting new members, it's also about keeping the members that we have. And we want to make sure that we're offering up something that you can take away with you. We want to make sure that we're offering up something that you're expecting us to give and to produce from SMPTE. So we believe that the Speaker Bureau, which we see as sort of a place to find the best of the best. And, you know, if you have something that you've been speaking about, or if you're working on a paper or something like that, and and you want to make sure that other sections know about it, we want to give you a space to have that happen. Now, as you can see from the questions on the slide, we have not figured out how we want to do this yet. And what we want to know from you all is, first question, is this something that you think would be helpful to sections? And the second question is, if so, what do you feel is the best way for us to put something like this together so it's really useful? So with that, I'll open it up for questions and hopefully some answers from you all. And silence. Either no one has questions or my internet has gone out.
John was wondering if it should be on Discord.
Hey, you know what? It seems like Discord was a yes. I will say.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I would say yes.
We can certainly do something that's extremely simple, even a list that could be behind the members wall, and I could tell you how to add to it and who could look at it, you know, whatever you need.
All right. I think the New Yorkers said they've got to head off. Thanks, Jeff. We'll talk to you guys soon. And thank you, Roberta, for that. So please, please, please send your suggestions into us. Roberta and Julie are here to grab those. That would be awesome as we look forward with all of these things. So I am a person who believes in time and being respectful of yours. So we're at 3:59, and I would like to say thank you to everyone for your input today. And we'll see you next month. And come with your ideas and keep your passion. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.